my sidekick, Dabby, and I'm going to be honest, I was not planning on doing a video today, but I finished this book, and I really want to start the second one, and I had to disturb my lazy day to get ready and do a video so that I would not ruin my review by knowing what happens in the second one. So, with that said, let's get into it. Today we are talking about The Winner's Curse by Marie Vodkowski. I'm sorry if I just butchered your name. This book was fantastic, and I got to the end and I just really needed to start the second one. So here I am talking about this one. I'm sorry if the glare is making it hard to see, but it's a really pretty cover. There's a blonde girl with fancy hair, and that's important, in a fancy dress, and she is holding what looks like a letter opener. I think it's considered a needle. If you've read it, you know why. So for the first time today, I actually have plans in a notebook. So if you see me reading from a notebook, I was actually writing notes as I was reading this one because there are certain things I really wanted to talk about, and there's actually one specific topic that I've been trying to find a way to talk about, but I haven't found the best way to do it, and this book kind of brings me in a direction that I really wanted to talk about. First, let's describe the overall idea of the book. In the first section of this video, I will not have any major spoilers. I'm kind of sticking to what is on the back of the book and maybe a tiny bit more, but not enough to really ruin the story at all. So basically, Kestrel is a Valorian in this country where it's almost like the reverse of when colonials came to America, because we were a quote-unquote civilized people coming to like a savage area because the Native Americans lived in like, I guess, lower class shelter and didn't have the like utensils and things that we have. In this one, the Valorians, who are the people that came and overtook the Harani's land, the Valori were actually the ones that didn't have silverware or like good housing or things like that, but they were great at fighting. So they came in and they took the Harani's land and made all of them slaves. So this starts following Kestrel, who hates the fact that she has slaves, but she still has them, and her father owns them, so she often tries to just not look at them and not pay attention to the fact that they exist. One day, she and her friend Jess end up at an auction, and the auctioneer puts up this man for auction, and she kind of loses her mind and purchases him for a ridiculous price, and then they end up falling in love, but it's like not okay, so it's a secret, and she can't really admit her feelings for him because it's against every rule in the world. But, oh, and she's also the general's daughter, so that kind of complicates things too. So one thing I really wanted to talk about is this really made me kind of think about where our society is right now, and obviously, thankfully, we don't have slaves anymore. That's been over for a very long time. But here's this girl, Kestrel, who is the most, I'm going to say, woke Valorian that we see in this entire book. Like, there is nobody that cares as much about the slaves as she does. And she hates the fact that there are slaves, whereas most people don't care or love it. And she purchases this slave and can't understand why she did it, first of all, because she hates having slaves. And second of all, when she does, she makes sure he's properly treated and nobody's allowed to hit him, and she goes out of her way to make sure that he has the best life possible. She's aware that slavery is not the right thing, and she shouldn't have slaves at all, and that's great. But at the same time, once she starts talking to him and gets to know him, not only does she realize that he's actually really smart and these slaves are capable of being just as intelligent, if not more so than many of her people. But she also starts to realize that even though she does understand more than most of the Valorians, there's still a whole lot that she just doesn't think about because it's not a part of her to think about it. For example, at one point, and this isn't really a spoiler, at one point her nurse gets sick, and she's really upset about this because this nurse has raised her and she even thinks of her as a second mother. Her own mother's dead, so she thinks of her as her mother in a lot of ways. And Aaron, the slave that she had purchased, sees that she's really upset at one point and says, "Who are you to be upset about her? She's not your blood. Where's her family?" And she's kind of stopped in her tracks by this because she knew she was sad. She knew that she loved her nurse more than most people, most friends, most family, most anything. But she had never even considered why the nurse's family wasn't a part of her life. Whether she didn't have a family, or it was just, or they just weren't in contact because they were slaves elsewhere, or what. And it's just, oh, sorry. So in my head I don't know, to me it was obvious. I don't know if it's obvious to other people. I've been connecting this to the whole white privilege thing going on. And this is what I've been trying to find a way to talk about, but not fully finding words on my own, but this book kind of helped me find some words for it. So here's this girl who is more aware than most people about the differences and how terrible this other group of people are treated, and yet actually talking to one awakens her in ways she had not considered before. And that's kind of how I feel too. I like to think that I'm aware of my white privilege. I'm aware that I've been pulled over by a cop one time, and I had the privilege, this is the ultimate white privilege that I'm about to talk about. I had the privilege to, as that police officer was coming to my window, I was not afraid for my life. It did not even cross my mind that I would not be leaving this situation in 5 minutes and be home. I was not going to be arrested. Nothing bad was going to happen to me. And yet, my white privilege allowed, in my head, me to go to, can I get out of this ticket? Not how do I leave with my life, not how do I make sure I don't end up in jail, but can I get away with what I did wrong? Because I was not in danger. That is my white privilege. And it blows my mind, like, hearing from other people, I'm never going to fully understand what it's like to not have that in my life. And I'm not saying it's something I want to lose, because I don't think any sane person would, but at the same time, me losing that white privilege, I don't think would mean me suddenly fearing for my life when a police officer comes over, but rather nobody having to fear for their life just because of one tiny mistake, or sometimes not even a mistake, that they make. And I don't know, I know I'm off track from the book, but I felt like this was a really good opportunity to talk about something I've been wanting to talk about. And my friend Christina, LuLo Fangirl, wrote a video about speaking up, and I've been trying to find a way, and here I did. And that's pretty much all I wanted to say about that. I think obviously it's really important, and it's a huge deal in the world right now. And I'm going to continue to try to understand. Like I said, I know I will never fully understand, because I'm fortunate enough not to have to fully understand. I'm never going to have to teach my children to be afraid of everything. Anyway, that was my little rant. I know I'm sure I'll have more to say at some point. Sorry, I'm going back to the book now. Here's my official spoiler warning. Anything I say from this point out is about the book, and it is a spoiler. So if you have not read the book and you do not want to be spoiled, I will talk to you later, and goodbye! going, and you could see that the rebellion was building. I didn't know what I wanted to happen, because on one side, you have these people that don't have the right to have these other people as slaves and are not making good choices and treating people fairly, but at the same time, the other side just wants to kill everybody, and you have these two main characters that mean well and aren't trying to hurt each other, but are hurting each other. More so him than her, I think, because he was kind of leading the rebellion that was killing her people, even though he was trying to save her. He was going out of his way to save her, but not caring about her people. I mean, she similarly cared more about the people that she loved than the people that she didn't know, but she was more open to all of the Hiranis than most Valorians, if that makes sense. So I'm sitting there reading this book and not knowing what I want to happen. I just want them to be together and love each other and not worry about anything else. But like, I get that there shouldn't be slaves, but I also get that the slaves in their rebellion shouldn't be killing off every single other person, which is what they were trying to do. And it's awful and everything hurts, and I get that like it's a war and that's what happens in a war, and this is why I never want to be in a war. I didn't know what to think. I didn't know who to support. I knew I loved the two main characters, and I knew I hated Cheat. I understood he was angry. I get he's angry. Ugh, okay. In my notes here, the second page is just like all caps and crazy. Both of the main characters are just so freaking smart. They can just read people, and I love that Kestrel just automatically always knows the truth to everything, whether it's reading the people or just understanding things. And the one time that she's questioned on that, and it was one of those moments where I didn't know which way I wanted it to go, because I did kind of want her to be brought down a peg and understand that like when people are enslaved to you, they're not always going to be honest, and they're scared for their lives all the time. So when she grabbed those earrings and ran, a part of me was like, oh, I hope they are real and she's gonna feel so bad. But at the same time, I'm like, wait, but I want her to be right because she's really smart, and that would ruin things if she wasn't as smart as she seemed to be. Anyway, she was right about that. But yeah, they're both really smart, except obviously they are each other's weakness, and that's seen throughout the book. She is his weakness, he is her weakness, and I'm sure that's going to continue in the upcoming books. Oh my gosh, that moment when he goes to the prison and brings his sister, who's the only person that understands and kind of cares about her too. Kind of. But I was freaking out, and then he realizes his mistake and he runs back, and that scene was so bad. That scene with Cheat was so bad. Luckily, Aaron gets there and kills him immediately, not listening to anything that he says, which, okay, I'm okay with that. But yeah, it was pain. It was pain. Okay, so they finally have this big kiss, and it's wonderful, and then she's like, what the hell am I doing? And pushes him away, and is like, I need to get out of here, and she just escapes that night. And then he follows her, he tracks her down. I don't quite understand what happened in that scene, where I know that she reaches for her knife, and he sees that. I guess it clicks for him that she doesn't love him the way he loves her, and so he just lets her go. I don't understand what happened in that scene, and I guess part of the reason I don't get it is because we are seeing it from her point of view, where she realizes that she would never actually use the knife on him, but he doesn't know that. So in his mind, I guess it's confirmation that she would use it on him, and he's not going to be able to convince her not to go, and he doesn't want to have to hurt her, and he doesn't want to make her hurt him, so she just lets him go. he could have tried talking to her. He could have tried. And like, that was another one of those moments where I didn't know which way I wanted it to go, because again, it wasn't fair that she was now a prisoner, but now that he was in charge, it also wasn't as bad as when Cheat was in charge. So, I don't know. I did like the way it worked out politically with them being able to be a colony and pay taxes but govern themselves. I thought that was great. Obviously, I hated the fact that in exchange she has to now marry the Emperor's son, and I feel like that's not actually going to happen in the 2 books coming up. So last thing I did want to talk about, when she comes and talks to him and tells him about the new plan, and he finds out that she's now engaged to the Emperor's son, and she's acting like she just saw this opportunity to be wealthy and get everything that anybody could possibly want and took it, and she's going to be happy and wonderful. The last line of the book is, even though the God of lies loves you. Does that mean that he knows that this whole thing is fake, and does he know that she's only doing it because of him? Or I feel like he at least knows that she doesn't actually want to be with the Emperor's son. And I don't know if he thinks that it's her just trying to, because she wants the like society that comes with it, or if he knows that it has something to do with him and being able to trade. I don't know, but I'm literally going to stop this video, which is not going to be up online for a couple days, and I'm going to start book 2 because I have it. I got it from the library. I got both of these from the library, and I'm excited to go read it, and I'm going to go do that right now. So I will talk to you next time. Bye! Sorry. He hates when I sneeze.